And what's up, Buckeye Nation? Once again, we are about to show down with Penn State. Again, our yearly tradition of going against Penn State and wondering what kind of game will it be. We don't ever know for sure. I'm here with my good buddy Kiran Shanker, our X and O's expert, to talk about what we can expect from this game. But first and foremost, I do want to ask you guys, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 3,500 subscriptions before the Penn State game, before kickoff. You can do that for us. We appreciate all your work. We're about 40 to 50 subscriptions off. Appreciate all y'all. Love y'all. Thank you for all the love and support you've been giving us, guys. Florida Corey here on the Scarlet and Great Empire. So Scarlet and Great Empire here on YouTube. Ohio State football with Scarlet and Great. Kieran, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Rounding up the week here at the Ohio State University. Here with my guy Brutus. He came with the house.
He came with the house. Did that help the value of the house, or?
You know what? Maybe it really moved rent up by, let's say, like a few $100s at least. So,
well, just get rid of that thing then, man. It's not the real Brutus anyway.
It's been a good week. Going to the game tomorrow. Funny story. My friend runs Blocko here, a good friend of mine from grade school, and we were partners in class. He comes into class and says, "Hey, Kieran, we need a lot of people to help us hand out the Scarlet towels on Saturday." He's like, "If you sign up to do this, you will get first row seats in Block O." And I said, "Okay, me and my roommate, we're doing it." So we'll be there bright. We'll be there not bright and early. It is a night game. We'll be there at 3:30 on Saturday to get these towels ready. 103,000 of them. So
I'll be sitting in my friend's home watching college football, eating steak. So you have at it.
might be a little rainy. Might be a little spooky too.
Yeah, a little spooky. Jeez. Anyway, good Lord. Anyway, yeah, Halloween weekend tradition with Penn State showdown. Guys. So Ohio State opens up as well. They opened up as about 15-point favorites. The line has moved to about 18.5. I wonder if the line will change as we get closer to game day. Let's start off, Kieran, a little bit like what. Look, our offense is what it is. Their defense is what it is. We'll save strength against strength for the second half of the show. Let's start off with our defense versus their offense. Okay, and we're going to talk about Sean Clifford at length, probably at the end of the show, because Kieran actually knows him and played with him in high school, and he can offer some insight that not many people can offer you. So we will talk about Sean Clifford because he is, as James Franklin. Now, granted, Franklin thinks he's playing Illinois at the Big House, so we don't know if Clifford actually is 100% like he said or not, but we're taking him at his word, at least on that part of his press conference. We expect Clifford to play, because if he doesn't play, let's be honest, Penn State has zero chance in this game. Zero. Their backup is atrocious and terrible. And anyway, Kieran, what has been changing with what's been changing with our defense the past few weeks that you think we can find success against Penn State?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys on Twitter, guys like Ross Fulton doing an excellent job letting Buckeye Nation know what's going on. And really, what really stuck out to me from watching and what everyone's already said is this is a defense that you could say fits our personnel well, but it's also more of a traditional college type of defense where you're really allowing our safeties to play. You could call it a split field coverage. We're not running that 100% of the plays, but mainly on those base downs, first and second down. So let's say like first and 10 or second and 5. We're still playing our safeties in a split field look, and we're allowing our corners to do what they do best in playing man coverage. So like a lot of people will note that just because the safeties are 10 yards back and the field, there's a safety to the field and the safety to the boundary, they're in a great position to still fill in that run. And it's not just the fact that the safeties are in good position to really see what's going on in front of them, whether that's reading the end man on the line of scrimmage or getting better run keys, right? It's also, I'm seeing a very steep improvement in fundamentals in the front seven. You know, it's one thing to change what the secondary is doing in alignment, but if the linebackers don't know how to trigger or play effectively, then it's still going to be a mess. But that's a big point to be made, is that the linebackers are playing better. Now, that is also due to the fact that I think that their responsibilities are more clearly defined for what they need to do. A lot of people are talking about this on Twitter. It was easy to see that against Indiana, that first series, we kind of reverted back to more of that what we like to call that single high defense, right? Where you have a safety playing, you call it deep post, deep middle, deep third, corners, deep sideline, deep third, or outside soft coverage. And they were able to score on that drive. And you saw a lot of chunk plays. Indiana really got into a rhythm. But then when Barnes probably was deciding to go back to more of a 50-50 split between those coverages, more of that zone coverage on passing downs, and then on these base downs where things get a little bit more tricky with what the offense may be doing, a little bit not playing their hand as much, then it was very effective to run these, people from, you could call it cover 4, man on the outside, split safety quarter coverage. They run some variations of this. This is what's changed. And this is not something that's completely new to the playbook, but it is something that is being used a lot more. When I was in high school, we played pattern match defense, and it's really just knowing the opponent very well and knowing what's in front of you. Like Zach said on his show, the kids, they can't be afraid to make mistakes, and they got to be able to play aggressively and fast. And that's what we're seeing. If they make a mistake, it's okay. The next play, it's no game. You
definitely want to be more aggressive and less thinking. And just go see ball, hit ball. You're referencing Zach Smith, Menace to Sports. I did see that show myself, and he's absolutely right. We were overcoaching, or especially our linebackers, is what he was saying.
Yeah, and just overall, in a stark improvement. I mean, statistically, we're over the last 4 games now. People are going to say what they will, but let's just say against Division I, Power 5 college football teams in the Big Ten, who also had winning records. Rutgers and Maryland had winning records going into those games. The Rutgers was a statement, and the Buckeye secondary was almost flawless that game, except for that one crossing route where I believe Hickman was attempting to cut it off. Kirkshank is a 4-3, 4-4 type of guy. Stuff like that's still going to happen. These are great athletes. The thing is, people say like, "Oh, bend but don't break." The reality is at times in the football game there will be chunk yardage gain. But
I think in today's offensive era, bend but don't break is pretty much the rule of thumb for defenses.
Yeah, and this defense is still not really bending too much. One series a game against Maryland, even when they got into the red zone in the second corner, it was about like a 4th and 6 or a 4th and goal, and they could not convert. We got pressure. Against Penn State last year, the defense was able to have success with a rushing 4 and getting pressure on the quarterback. And that's
they're getting more into that. In the last few weeks, defensive lines have definitely been showing out, and Larry Johnson's handprint has been all over that thing. And do you think we've got to get into one player here specifically on the Penn State offense I want to talk about here? Not Sean just yet, but the receiver, Jahan Dotson, who's a really good player. This year so far, he got 49 catches, 563 yards, 6 touchdowns for an 11.5 average. Obviously not the deep threat, but he's a guy who's quick. He can get in the bubble screens and do some damage. He's a possession receiver guy. And I think he would probably be matched up with a guy like Denzel Burke, because Denzel Burke was talking some trash, saying nothing I can't handle, whatever. You love the confidence, but young, and you don't know what you don't know yet. Let's face the guy and see what you can do with him, because Jahan's a good player. We recruited him. Brian Hartline doesn't waste time recruiting duds. So, and don't get me, look, I think he's a good player. I respect him. He actually had a great game against Shaun Wade last year, but of course everybody had a great game against our secondary last year. With Clifford being healthy, what kind of impact do you think Dotson has on our secondary, which has been much improved this year?
So Dotson's a guy who can line up all over the place. I believe that they're probably going to try to use him in the slot at times, especially on passing downs. However, he is an outside receiver through and through. So what you could see is if he's on the outside, you put Burke, you can put
Cam Brown.
Banks,
Brown, yeah. Banks is kind of not getting. He's on a limited rep count. It's got to be Brown, probably more than likely.
Yeah, Brown absolutely has actually been, when he's been healthy, he's been one of the best corners on the team. If Brown,
you got to figure Williamson will be matched up on the slot, right?
Yeah, Williamson will be playing in the slot a lot. I know, in terms of what the field safeties are doing and how Martinez figures into the mix too. There are times where, Dotson could be matched up on these guys. So really the key is what Barnes may do is either shadow or bracket. And I wouldn't be surprised to see either, because he's just through and through their best weapon. I mean, guys like Parker Washington have made plays. So there are opportunities other than just Dotson. But
but you want to try to make other guys beat you instead of Dotson. You want to take away something that,
we are going to probably bracket him and or shadow him in the slot. It'll be interesting to see. I can't say that I'm perfectly aware of what the exact game plan is going to be in terms of how we change it for Dotson. I think it'd be great to get them to 3rd and 7 or plus and shadow and bracket him and account for him at all times. He's really a guy who's loose, but he's faster than you think too. He's a lot faster than, because you think possession receiver, we remember the one-handed catch he had, and you think he's a guy that's really good at creating separation at the catch point. But really, he's a threat even before the catch point, where he's can put guys in the dust. And he can adjust for, I think Clifford does a really good job at times of allowing his receivers to make plays on the ball. And Dotson's one of those guys who can doesn't have to just make contested catches, because he'll already create so much separation that we may need to bracket him. And in the coverage already, in our base coverage, there are brackets kind of built in to where the safety can help on the outside receivers. However, there are ways that you can try to exploit this, which offensive coordinators all over the country know split field coverages and maybe how to isolate him on a post and try to manipulate. So running a pure bracket could be a really good strategy. And teams do that in a lot of different ways. You could see either Hickman, Ransom, or Shaw just take inside leverage and make sure he doesn't cross face.
People love hearing about Shaw guarding their best receiver, bracketing the best receiver. But so we possibly look at bracket coverage for Dotson. The run game hasn't been that good for Penn State, so Ohio State's been pretty good against the run overall. So I don't figure that to be as much of an issue. And they're
they
limited
could try to get Brendan Strange involved too. The tight end,
they're always good with tight ends.
He's flashed some,
Well, let's look at real quick. Switch over to the other side of the ball. This is strength versus strength. The Ohio State offense has been the best offense in the entire country in the last 3-4 weeks. I don't even want to hear an argument for anybody else. And Penn State defense is no joke. It's a good defense. It's not. I don't know if it's as stifling as what people once tried to say it was, but it's 16 points a game you brought up before the show started. That's pretty good. And I don't think they necessarily played any great offenses. Auburn's probably the closest thing they played to a pretty solid offense. Auburn has some legitimate superstars, Tank Bigsby and whatnot, and not Bo Nix by any stretch of the imagination. But that's why I say maybe not an offense. They haven't really faced a great quarterback yet. CJ Stroud is playing like a great quarterback right now. So we have so many weapons, Kiran. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Johnny and I joke about it all the time. It's like either our running back who averages 9 yards a carry, the offensive line which averages 315 pounds, and there's going to be 3 possible first-round draft picks on it. And then you go Olave, Wilson, Nate Smith, and Jigba on the receiving core, and that's just the first 3. And then by the way, Ruckert might get open. So and then you get Stroud making great decisions. So how does Penn State slow us down? Can Ohio State fans expect to just roll again, or could we expect a bit of a battle here?
Yeah, I really hope it's not raining.
That's going to be he's what in 2 games TJ Stroud was raining. He's put up numbers. So
absolutely, and it takes getting used to. I don't know how much it's raining in Rancho, but probably not much in California, Central California. But for Saturday, I do think Penn State's defense was coming in ranked highly for a reason. They have some blue chip guys like Brandon.
Thank God
Smith,
we're not facing Micah Parsons again.
What'd you say?
Thank God no Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Oh, he would have still been the best player on this defense, but
easily.
Jaron Brisker though is becoming a household name because they can do a lot of different things.
They have some good players.
Yeah. He can play man in the slot, man on tight end. He can roam in the middle of the field and make a quarterback pay with his ability to close. He can play deep middle of the field. He's kind of a utility guy, and he allows them to be flexible in their coverages. And with the experience in the secondary, you can tell that they're very comfortable in calling this defense in the way that it is right now. I do think that if you remember what happened last year, Ohio State was able to get some very big plays, explosive passing plays, even against guys like Fields, Tyreek Castro Fields, and Joey Porter Jr., mainly because even though those guys are good corners, Joey Porter has an NFL future. The reality is Olave and Wilson, the way that they win, it is very difficult, especially with good quarterback play, to cover that. So even with the weather being considered and the fact that Henderson is still probably going to be, I would assume after this game, I still think he's going to be averaging at least 7 to 8 yards a carry. I think he's averaging almost 9 right now. This offensive line is graded incredibly highly for great reason. DeJuan Jones starting, I'm pretty sure every single Buckeye fan was thinking to themselves, awesome, we need to get him on the field. He's now one of the best tackles in the country. And then Nick Petit-Ferrier still continuing his play, dominant as in pass protection. Obviously, when he's in my grade. So when he committed as the number one offensive tackle in the country, this is no surprise. So overall, offensively, this was a matchup last year that we were able to take advantage of because of the man-to-man opportunities that came about. And we didn't really play too conservatively last year at Penn State. Now, without fans or with fans or with home field advantage, the opportunities are going to be there to take in terms of being able to target Wilson, Olave, and Smith down the field. And if you remember what happened against Clemson last year, they had some guys in that secondary. Now, they ran a different defense, but like I said, Coach Day knows, just regardless of what the defensive scheme is, where he can find matchups and potentially exploit. So if they decide to run, softer coverages or decide to let Brisker cover the middle of the field to protect the corners, Day will find ways to get the ball out in rhythm, maybe on deep comeback routes, or get Ruckert involved to get CJ Stroud in rhythm. And then the run game is going to be averaging, I think offenses are averaging only about a few yards per carry on this Penn State offense, except for the Illinois game where it was closer to, I believe, 7 yards per carry, because they got a lot of bodies involved. So you could see some 12 personnel, which we still really do like to do as times, especially last year when we had Farrell and Ruckert. Now it could be a mix of, Ruckert and Stover to really be able to equate some numbers against the run, get some bodies on bodies. And Henderson and Williams are going to be able to take the load and be the playmakers that they've been. To me, the spread at 18 is really interesting because if you look at this on paper, Penn State's a talented team, but you also know Ohio State is playing some of the best football you'll see in anywhere in the country right now. And with it being a home field advantage and just how hot this team is, beating not even that terrible of an Indiana team by 50 points. It should have been a shutout too. I can't say that I'm going to go against the spread here. I could say that I think the Buckeyes could cover here offensively. And me, I'm typically not that confident or arrogant in that sense. But for me to look at what the Buckeyes are doing right now, to still think that Penn State has a good top 20 type of team here, at times they put at a top 10 level. I do think with this home field advantage that the Buckeyes can really roll this week.
Yeah, I'm going to make one quick statement real quick, and then we go into really quickly about Clifford because we got to wrap it up here. But I do think that could be a statement game for Ohio State because, like you said, it's a top 20 roster. Like for Penn State, granted they have all kinds of off the field issues going on with Franklin right now, and talking about possibly where he's not quite committing to being the coach of Penn State. They have a lot of moving parts, as he liked to say. But I will say this: I do think coming off the Illinois game, they were possibly looking ahead to Ohio State a little bit, and I just think we're going to see a wounded animal with its back against the wall, still playing for a lot. I think it's going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah, no, their defense actually, I forgot to mention, they were on the field for 88 plays.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's almost 100. That is that wears you out. Yeah,
of course. And so I'm saying I think it's going to be a little tougher game than people think. Now, Greg, I could be wrong, but that's what I think. I'm thinking right now, if I had a score prediction, it'd be something along the lines of I think Ohio State 42 to maybe like 24. something like that. Just that's still close to where the spread is, but I still think it's going to be a little bit until the mid third quarter. It's going to be like a kind of a frustration game. I think they're going to keep the way they're going to try to stop our offense is they're going to play bend but not break, kind of keep everything in front of them, at least try to, and wait for mistakes to happen, and then wait for opportunities on third and long and whatnot. But anyway, give us a brief synopsis, just brief, because we're at 20 minutes now, of Sean Clifford, because I know you have a history with him, and then we'll wrap it up.
See, I played with Sean in 2016 at St. Xavier. So what's known about Sean is just his his leadership, but he's really he's a fiery guy. In the locker room, just a guy who is not afraid to call people out, but he's a very loving guy. Loves his teammates, loves his coaches, and he takes things very, very seriously. But he's still a guy that first and foremost really cared about every single teammate that he had at St. X. And I speak very highly of him because I have a lot of respect for him and what he's been able to accomplish. It's no surprise to me that he's so well respected within the program because he's just got a natural gift from God that in terms of being able to build people and to lead people. As a player, how I describe him is he can get really hot. I mean,
he did against Auburn. He had a great game against Auburn.
When he gets hot in high school football, he was one of the best in the country. He was one of the best quarterbacks. We won the D1 state title. It was the fourth toughest bracket in the country, ranked when we played. And he was not even 100%. So to me, the injury doesn't really scare me because he can play through a lot of pain. He can play through a lot of pain from what I know. And in terms of what he brings to the table, when he starts getting hot, he starts to make nice throws with touch. I think Yurcich really likes to exploit holes in the defense, and he knows Clifford can see it quick because he's so experienced. He's got good field vision. And when he gets in a rhythm and gets hot, he really can do damage with his arm. His best throw of the year might have been against Villanova, where he threw a ball that I think one of the biggest criticisms is, if it's a 40-yard plus throw, he can't make it. But he made one against Villanova. That was Villanova.
It's Villanova.
But still, it was a ball that traveled 55 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good ball is a good ball. I agree.
Exactly. And so he's capable of really doing damage with his arm. I think where the problem may lie in this game is just the fact that he can't do everything. And I think Ohio State, the Buckeyes, I think Barnes is going to bring some zone pressures on downs to get them a little confused. And I think we can also get home with 4. I think our defensive line is really hitting its stride. And I think he's going to have some nice plays on Saturday. I think, a lot of Buckeye fans will be like, nice, they'll see some good play from him. I don't think it's going to be enough. And I kept thinking the spread's at 15. So I think the Buckeyes will probably win by around 2 touchdowns. To cover the spread, that's a lot to ask, 18.5 points, right? So with good play from Clifford, I still don't think it's going to be quite enough to beat the Buckeyes here at home. So I'm expecting a great game to see really just how far this team's gone. We've already known that they've taken strides. Now it's time for them to prove it on the national stage that against good quality opponent that they're ready to take on the playoff and really make noise in that conversation.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, looking forward to the game. Kiran, you'll be there first row. Awesome. You have to share your experience with us next week when we do a review of the game. Guys, as always, man, if you want to find Kiran on Twitter, where can they find you, buddy?
Yeah, it's at _ Kiran. That is spelled Kiran Shanker _ So that's at _ Kiran Shanker _ So yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Corey. A lot to look forward to this weekend, Buckeye Nation.
Score prediction, real quick.
So I predict that we're going to put up, we'll say 45 points, and that Penn State will put up 21. So
45-21. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a good win right there.
I guess. You see, it's been a long week. Let me do some math. So that's 24. Yeah, I'll stick with it. I'll stick
All
with
right.
it.
Hey, you're locked in now, guys. Anyway, guys, as always, please subscribe to the show. We're looking for 3,500 before October 30th. Please get 200 likes on the video. Thank you for all the love and support you give us. It's been Kiran Shanker previewing the Penn State team that he looked at on film and their stats, and to give us an inside look at what he thinks is going to happen, and give us an inside look at Sean Clifford. Guys, thank you for the love and support. As always, goodbye. God bless. And go Bucks.